For hosting and supporting this first Dynamo user group New Zealand, and thank you all for coming. And we thought that it was important for the first meeting to introduce, programming in Revit and Dynamo. So let's start from the beginning. Well, maybe not so the beginning, something like that. Basically, programming, there are multiple definitions possible, but is to cause a computer to do something that we want and perform in a chosen way. Basically, we need to instruct the computer to do a sequence of operations, and we do this actually using programming languages. So programming basically gives you powers, okay? Simplifying a programming language can give you the power to develop your own application or even a whole operative system if you want. Limitations depend basically on hardware, operative system and features available in the programming language you choose. Or actually you can control one or more existing applications. In this case, another limit is how much actually the application expose its application programming interface, so the API. So basically the set of instruction that you can use to control those applications. Revit itself can speak many languages, okay? You can use basically any of the .NET compliant programming languages to develop a Revit add-in or a plugin, or even a Dynamo zero-touch node. We will see a little bit more about that. The usual suspects, let's say the most used ones, are C++, C#, Python, and design script in Dynamo. But you can use actually many others, or even a combination of all the above. So what you can do a lot of things using Revit APIs, and you can create add-ins and macro. You can do quality checking by checking for errors. You can extract, you can import data, and you can integrate other applications in Revit, or creating even creating a documentation in an automatic way, and much more actually. So what are your options? You can, like in other environments and for other programs, actually you can create a macro. And you can have two options here. One is application-wise and another one is document-wise. So you can choose to develop a macro that can be run in all your projects or just in one project, and embed actually this macro inside one Revit file. You can use C#, Python, VBNet, and Ruby to develop those macros. Or you can actually develop a full plugin or add-in or even an extension using text-to-all programming languages like the one we saw before. You have external commands, you have external applications, Revit extensions, and DB-level external applications. The options here are really similar in terms of the power and the freedom that you can have from using those systems. There's a little bit of code involved here. You need to use usually in other applications to develop those kind of add-ins, to compile them in DLL files and to load them in your Revit environment. External applications are pretty powerful because you can actually develop independent and a very integrated, well-integrated set of commands. Or you can use visual programming and textual programming using Dynamo. The supporting languages are DesignScript, that is a specific scripting language actually created for Dynamo, C#, Python, VubiNet. And actually you can also load other DLL, so other libraries inside Dynamo. So what is Dynamo? Dynamo is an open source visual programming platform for designers. This is the definition in the Dynamo primer. And it's a very specific and clear definition. Visual programming actually is an approach to programming using graphic icons and graphic data to manipulate the logic elements behind the program. It's not so new, and it's not new. You can find visual programming in 3D design packages like Grasshopper since 2007, in 3D Studio Max for the material editor, for example, since 2011, or even in compositing, so for movies, films and compositing. This is an example taken from Nuke, 2002, or even databases for query designing, like Microsoft Access, but also FileMaker and other solutions. So visual programming is about having a script and connecting some graphical elements to drive the script through. Dynamo has this amazing feature of visualizing at the same time the script and the geometry result. So that's when visual programming for designers makes a lot of sense to me. So behind those nodes, there's a plain programming text, actually. These two scripts, they do exactly the same thing. And the script itself, the graph itself, if you open it with a textual editor, you can see that it's a sort of HTML language. So why to use Dynamo? Basically, much more for all the reasons we saw for APIs, so interaction with other software, data input, editing and output, workflow optimization and quality control on a model database, or whatever, I mean, your fantasy and your ability can put you through. So Dynamo is not just for fancy geometries or super advanced programmers. Dynamo can be used by any Revit users for any kind of projects. But actually we should divide and we should split this question in two parts. One is who can execute Dynamo scripts, and my answer is that basically anyone that can benefit from automation in architectural engineering construction applications. So basically a lot of people that can execute pre-made Dynamo scripts. Why so? Because we do have, from 2017, actually, Autodesk and Dynamo, Dynamo developers, actually provided us with this amazing thing that is called Dynamo Player, where you can just select the script you want to run, press play, and the script will execute. And you can also, and this is a very cool feature, you can also customize the input data without spending too much time in designing a graphical user interface. But the second part of the question is who can actually design Dynamo scripts? And to me, everyone who can directly or indirectly benefit from automation in the software we saw. Everyone has a knowledge of Revit, the more the better, and or actually has a precise idea about the result expected. Can be also an external developer, why not? And can give clear instructions to a super fast stupid, like a computer is. So some Dynamo pros and all the visual programming goods. The flexibility, this is very important to me, the flexibility in choosing the right balance between visual and textual programming. You can use multiple developing languages, like we saw, real-time debugging and execution. You don't need to reload your exit Revit or reload your Dynamo script after a modification. And this is really important when you develop some scripts. You have an interactive visualization of what you change is what you see in the preview, 3D preview window. You have a clear introspection using watch notes, and we will see something, I think, together with Monica. And Dynamo Player may save you some time developing using user interface. And you have actually a lot of ready-made nodes already available. And community wanting and actually keynote supporting your progresses. What are the cons? Visual programming can risk to be a little bit messy and create what programmers usually call spaghetti code. That it's all this intricate code that you cannot really understand after a while. So be tidy and go textual actually when you need. It's difficult to keep it visual only because there are some cases, you know, like when you need to address what-ifs or sequence management or complex user interfaces when in large scripts the textual approach can be more effective. The launching time of Dynamo can be a little bit long to me, and there's quite a controversial point about performance. So my idea here is that Dynamo cannot be faster than C++, and but the point is, it depends what we are speaking about. Are we considering the coding time? Are we considering the efforts and so on? It's a very classic debate in programming. And last, that it's not very actually a secondary thing, it's really difficult to protect your scripts because it's an open source project. So for commercial applications as well, I don't think that is the right tool. So just going quickly through the basics, let's speak about installation. Dynamo is included in Revit and updated frequently, but not all Dynamo versions run on all Revit versions. This is pretty important to understand from the day zero, because Dynamo scripts can be updated, but they are not backward compatible from major version to major version. This is really important to understand from the day zero, because if you start developing in a let's say in a very recent version, you cannot use it in more let's say former and old installations. So watch your Revit Dynamo packages and scripts stack. You need to choose your version very carefully. This is one of the tables taken from the Dynamo site, and you can see that, for example, 2019 has let's say a minimum compatibility with 1.3.3. Actually, comes installed with 1.3.3, and the 2016 version can support until 1.3.2. So if we use the 2019 version of Dynamo, you cannot use the same scripts actually in 2016. But actually, what you can do, you can install multiple versions, especially when you use version 2 and version 1 on the same machine. You can choose to run which version to run in the supported Revit versions. Go in Dynamo builds and you will find all the stable and also the nightly builds, so the one in developing. Dynamo can run in two modes. The first one is sandbox, so without Revit open, or directly in Revit. And you will find the Dynamo icon in the add-ins tab for all the pre-2017 Revit versions, and in Manage tab, Visual Programming in post-2017. The user interface is, I just will go quick here because you will see Dynamo in action in a few minutes. You have menu, toolbar, library. The most important thing is the workspace, so that grid showing the geometry. On the left you will have all your library with your nodes, and actually organized in the library sections, in categories, and actually you will have for example, the bi-center points radius is one of the nodes. So this is one of the scripts, and this is showing the geometry behind. Settings are pretty important, so before scripting, pay attention to settings, especially the number format, the render precision, and the geometry working range, because you need to adjust those settings to your scope, especially geometry working range for large numbers, for example, in buildings. This is how a node looks like. Actually, it has some very smart features, starting from the name on top. You have the ports, so in and out, like if it was an electric device, actually, and the leasing icon and the default value as well. So a very important thing is the kind of data that you are using across and along actually your script. This is when the data type tooltip comes really in hand, because here, for example, we see that this specific node accepts double data type, so it's a numeric data type, and if you provide to this node a data type that is, for example, text, the whole script will not work again. Dynamo has also this very smart approach to give you feedback on what's going on your script, using colors and using some symbology for active, the first one, the first node on top left, inactive, nodes with errors, nodes frozen, selected, and so on. And you connect those nodes using wires, and those wires actually drive the data through your script, from left, in this case, to the right. What kind of nodes we can use? Let's start with the easy ones, okay? So the regular node is actually a default node supplied with Dynamo. Those are the basic and fundamental ones, and you can also use node from packages, so developed by someone else. And you have a very interesting and very comprehensive collection of nodes in the Dynamo Package Manager. At the moment we have 614 packages and growing, so don't reinvent the wheel, okay? But if you want, you can also design your own nodes, and you can create some custom nodes. And here you have actually two approaches. The first one is developing those custom nodes in Dynamo, so using the Dynamo tools to develop your nodes. And you have custom nodes that are just a collection, let's say a group of nodes that you can load and you can share. You can use code block nodes that are just where you can use the design script language to actually to perform some operations. And you can have also Python script node where you can run Python code directly in Dynamo. Or you can develop for Dynamo. So going out of Dynamo and using other tools, other developing interfaces, to actually develop some libraries that then you can load into Dynamo. And those nodes are really powerful because basically you are free to use all the libraries and all the features the .NET framework can give you. And here you have two possibilities. One is the zero-touch node, when you can just load what you did inside Dynamo, or you can also use node model derived nodes that are very powerful, but also they need also some additional programming, and they can drive the interface of Dynamo itself. So at the end, Dynamo is not just visual programming. Dynamo is really what you make of it, and set you free and empowers your brain. The more you know Revit, the more you know the programming language you are going to use, and the more you know the Revit API. There are plenty of best practices around. Just start with the primer. Dynamo primer is the first source of information. And you have those very comprehensive guides around, made by a competent, let's say, community. The first one is the primer, so it's the introduction. Basically, most of the things that you saw are taken from the primer. The dictionary, it's like a collection of all the Dynamo nodes that you can have. The developer dynamo.org is the guide when you want to use custom nodes. The forum is really important because the community is very keen on helping. The Dynamo packages is where you can download third-party packages, and let's hope that this, Dynamo User Group New Zealand will be here to help you too. So yeah, programming can be fun. Thank you so much, and I give the microphone to Monica for some Dynamo in action.